right, it's finally time for the Grey Knight Codex review. I am so very excited to be talking about it, and let's just get right into it. I think this book is very cool. There's a lot of people earlier having some doubts based on what we've seen, but I think it's a very awesome book, and I'm going to break down in detail basically every single data sheet, every single detachment, maybe not Warpbane as much, but every single detachment and enhancements, etc. And I'll have some example lists. It's going to be a bunch of bookmarks or timestamps at the bottom if you want to skip to like a certain data sheet or a certain unit, whatever. This is going to be a very try-hard video for me, so let's do it. Okay, so before we go into the data sheets, we're going to talk about the army rule really quick. So the Grey Knight army rule basically stayed the same. It got a few little improvements, which is very cool. So how it works is in a 2,000 point game, at the end of your opponent's turn, you get to target 3 of your units that have the Gate of Affinity ability, and they get to go into Deep Strike. Okay, so that's the same as it was before. However, very significant change is that the stuff that goes into Deep Strike with this ability does not have to come down on the next turn. So that you, in the last book, you had to bring in the units like in the next turn. Now you do not. So theoretically, like you could start, 2 of your bricks on the table, and then your opponent goes first, and they don't like give you anything crazy to do with them. You pick them up, and they get to sit in reserves until turn 4 if you want, and then just you can rapid ingress them or do whatever on turn 4. Being able to rapid on turn 4 and 5 with like real units is like incredibly powerful. So I think that this might be one of the most underrated changes of this whole book. So if you guys are like feeling like, oh man, I picked up my Dread Knight, I feel like I have to bring it down next turn. Don't. You literally do not have to now. It's so cool, and it makes your army feel so much more flexible than it was before. But yeah, data sheets coming up. We're starting with the Chaplain. All right, so data sheets. Starting off with the Chaplain, he basically sucks. Very bad start to the book. He's only like 65 points though, but he's like the only Chaplain I think in the game that does not give you +1 to wound. He'll let you reroll charges, and once per game he can point at somebody and be like, "You're not battle shocked anymore." So that's it. His weapon sucks. It's 6/1/2 melee. He can lead Paladins and Terminators. Nothing like this guy might like squeak in as like a single character if you have like 60 points, but he sucks. Do better. All right, next is the Brotherhood Tech Marine. He's pretty cool. He gets the same stuff he did before. He can join Purifiers, which is very huge, Purgation Squads, and Strike Squads. So why is it so significant that he can join Purifiers? Well, it's a new thing in this book. It basically allows him to join Purifiers, and they get enhancements now. Before, the only guy that could lead them was Crow, which means that any good enhancement like that buffs a unit the Purifiers did not have access to. There's a couple cool ones that you can throw on him that go on the Purifiers, which I'll go into detail later. Other stuff he does, he's got the same loan up as other Tech Marines do in this game. And then once in command phase, he can buff somebody for heal 3 and +1 hit. Same cool stuff. And something that's different about him specifically is when someone charges a Grey Knight vehicle within 6 of him, he gets a heroic for free, and then you can use it again. So like theoretically, like you could heroic with the Paladin unit, whatever, and then he could heroic a vehicle. Don't know when you'll ever do this, but if he's with Purifiers, this is kind of cute, like to help him like save like a Dread Knight or something. But yeah, Tech Marine. His attacks, he's got pretty standard melee attacks. He's got the Serval Arm at 8/2/3 with 1 attack, and then the Omnissiah Power Axe at 6/2/2. And keep in mind, if he's leading Purifiers, he would get rerolls to wound with this stuff in melee. So, Tech good guy. I could see him being like a fun little guy to try with Purifiers and in some detachments. All right, next we have the Brotherhood Librarian. He got a ton of changes in this book, but he's very cool, and I think he's very good. So, first thing of note, he went down from 120 points down to 85, I believe. 85, which is very significant for him. Now he can like plug into a Paladin unit or a Terminator unit, and he's going to give them some pretty cool buffs. So, number 1, his ability is the 4+ Fatal Pain against Psychic, which is really relevant considering Thousand Suns is like a bad matchup, I think. And there's other random Psychic guns throughout the game, which he just makes your units like very hard to deal with. And then this is like the biggest change to him, and I think it's broken, like super strong. He gives you Lone Op 18, which is incredibly significant because that means like there's a lot of angles where you can rapid ingress your big bricks, and now you can't get like cross court shots by like auto cannons that go 48 inches. Your opponent has to be within 18 inches of you to shoot, and when your opponent is that close to you, you are happy because you have a giant brick of Terminators that's going to go fight and kill them. Additionally, he has the Vortex of Doom, which has gone from the broken datasheet ability to now his gun. It is an 18-inch range gun at D6 plus 3 shots with blast, and it is psychic. Hits on 3s, which I think is very dumb. It should hit on 2s, whatever. And it's 8-2-2. So this gun is very good at killing Space Marines. And there's a way in another codex or another enhancement to get them to AP3. So AP3 at 8-8-2-3, 8-2-2 is very good. His melee weapon is like the same but worse, like always. 4 attacks at 6-1-2. You know, it's not worthless, but you know, he's not going to be shredding things in melee. You're going to throw this guy on your 8-man paladin unit, in my opinion, and then you're going to say, okay, you can't shoot me with an 18, and you're going to just be able to do awesome, cool things with your paladins. All right, next, the Brotherhood champion. He's another guy who got quite a few changes in this book. So both of the datasheet ability changed. So now he does no longer give fights first, which is a little bit sad. However, he does give the unit he's leading advance in charge. He can lead purgation units and strike squads. So I have a couple like ideas where he's like leading a 10-man strike squad like out of a Rhino. That unit all of a sudden becomes like really fast to kill, and it's OC2. But you know, we're workshopping that still a little bit. And his ability is each time this model destroys a character model, you get a CP, which is very cool. And until the end of the game, you get +1 attack on your weapons. He has a he hits the same as like a Strike Marine, but he hits on 2s, and like I said, he's able to precision out characters, get you some CP, and there's a lot of different ways to give him more attacks or more consistent attacks or sustained, etc., etc. All right, next up we have Mr. Brother Captain. He got some notable datasheet changes as well. So the biggest one is he used to give sustain to psychic weapons. Now he gives lethal hits to all melee attacks, which is very cool. And he rerolls all wounds for himself. So that is not limited to melee. So he'll be rerolling wounds with his like incinerator or your side cannon if you do give it to him. So he's just a standard guy. He's, you know, T5, 2 up armor, 6 wounds, 6 leadership, 1 OC. He can take a special weapon, which you probably go an incinerator or side cannon most of the time. And then he's got the standard 4 attacks at 6-2-2 with his force weapon. He can lead the Terminators and Paladins like always. You'll find that the lethal hits gives the Paladins a lot of juice in this book, so I definitely am going to be seeing him in a lot of my lists leading some Paladins. You're going to hear that unit a lot. All right, next up, Mr. Crow, Castellan Crow himself. He is very good. I love this guy. Basically, he can only lead purifiers, and what he does is he gives 1 more shot per guy to your purifying flame, which got a giant buff in this book, which I'll break down in a moment. And then when he personally targets a character unit, you can reroll all hits with him. So that's very cool. Now he's got purifying flame, which went up from AP1 to AP2, ignore cover. So this shot is it's 3 shots hitting on 2s at AP4, AP2, ignore cover. Anti-infantry 2+. So this weapon is very strong, and when he's leading a unit, it ends up being 24 of these shots, and there's a lot of ways to make your units hit on 2s. There's a lot of ways for your units to reroll 1s, and hint, hint, purifiers reroll wounds for free now. I'll be talking about that later. But besides that, in melee, he's just got the same attacks as everybody else, except they have precision and dev. Crow doesn't do anything for them in melee, really. But giving 14 more shots of that Purifying Flame is definitely not nothing. And you're going to see this guy a lot. If you don't have a Crow, and you play Grey Knights, you might want to look at tracking 1 down. Alrighty. Next, Grand Master. Now, this guy got a very big glow up, and he is what he should have been a year ago now. Okay, so number 1, he gets the Captain rule. Hooray! To where he now gets a free CP once per battle round. Very good. Very handy. Some of the best strats in this book are 2 CP, and he can just make them 1 CP, and they're very strong. And then he gets more captain-like stuff. Once per game, he can go up 3 attacks and 3 strength, which, surprise, surprise, he has the same weapon as everybody else. So he has a normal 5 attacks, hitting on 2s at 622, and then he bumps up to 8 attacks at strength 9 at 6-2 with 2 damage, 2 AP. So very cool. He's definitely going to be somewhere in a lot of lists just because of that free strat. And he has 7 wounds. Very cool. All right, then we have the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dread Knight. This is like the only new thing we basically got from this whole codex in terms of like datasheet, etc. So what he does is, number one, he got a big upgrade in the terms of what his actual datasheet rules are. So number one is each time he makes a melee attack against a monster or vehicle, he can full reroll hits, wound, and damage. Notably, if you have 2 of these guys that make a charge in the same turn, they both get to do this now. In the previous codex, the Grandmaster in melee in this thing, only one of them could use their very cool ability to fully roll everything. Now you have both, such as a nice little quality of life improvement, and thank goodness they also fixed his CP thing. So he does get a free strat, or a free -1 on the strat, just like the Grandmaster does. However, notably, it is the same named ability as the Grandmaster in Paladin, so you can't use both of these guys in the same battle round, but it is still nice to have access to CP in this book, which they definitely remedied that situation. Now, let's talk about what he does on his data sheet, because they showed 3 or 4 cool new weapons, right? Surely these weapons are broken and cracked, right? Well, let's break those down. Okay, so we get the Fragstorm Grenade Launcher. This is a D6 thing with blast at 401. Very cool. Honestly, like, I shouldn't be mean. This gun is like kind of useful. You can like shoot it at trash, and like it's just nice to have extra shots. It's sure. He got the Gatling Silencer, the Heavy Incinerator, and the Psy Cannon. They're all the same as they were before. And now the Melta. Now the Melta, I had like mixed emotions about when my first read, but after playing a few games, the Melta is cracked. The Melta is very good. So it is a Melta 4 Psychic Twin Linked. Praise be Twin Linked. But Twin Link multi-Melta, essentially, it is range 18 with a 2 shots hitting on 3s at 9-4 D6 Melta 4. So Twin Linked effectively means that you're wounding things that are T10 or higher, essentially on 3s. Because if those who don't know, a 5 rerolling is about the same math as a 3+. So do not just be sad. This Melta is very good and is very useful. And there's a million ways in this Codex to end up within 9 out of Deep Strike, so you don't have to necessarily like be very sad because you're never in Melta range. There's a million ways to get this guy in Melta range, so do not despair, everyone. Do not despair. All right, cool. Now the melee weapons, these must be cracked, it must be broken, surely. All right, so we have the Dread Fists. LOL. Not even going to talk about them. If anyone's playing Dread Fist, they're doing a narrative, like they're doing like a narrative or something for fun. Dread Fists are very sad. The Nemesis Demon Hammer is obviously still the best. Unfortunately, 5 attacks at 314, hitting on 3s at strength 14, AP 3, damage D6 +1, and then this guy is full rerolling everything from the top to bottom. Then you have the Nemesis Greatsword. Actually got a little bit better. There might be a world where someday you take this thing, like if the game ever changes. But right now, it's not good. It does have a sweep profile and a strike profile. The strike hits on 2s, which is pretty cool, at 10-2 D6. And then the sweep is 10 attacks at 5-1-1. It's not nothing, but I still don't think we're taking the sword. All right, the new weapons. Here we go. The Nemesis Flail, guys. The Nemesis Flail. Let's talk about that. 10 attacks. Good start, right? Hitting on 2s. Very good start. Okay, surely this thing is strong, right? Strength 5, AP 1, damage 2. Okay, ass. no keywords on the weapon. It's just ass. Very sad about the flail. It looks very cool. If my opponent ever wants to put a flail on their Dread Knight and count it as a hammer or whatever, totally fine. But flail, very disappointing, very sad. Now the mace is actually a little bit better than the flail, which, not hard to do, but the mace is a little better. It is anti-character 2+, very cool. Precision, psychic. So it's got 5 attacks, hitting on 2s at 633. So that's not the worst profile in the world, but there's just no universe you'd ever not take the hammer over this. And plus, like, the guy gets a free strat, so you just get to free strat precision with the hammer, and the hammer is wounding on characters on 2s anyway, so it's like, why would I ever take this thing? The mace needed to have like 8 attacks, and the flail needed to have like 15 attacks, basically, for them to be like even considered. So a little bit sad. Those are terrible, but overall, this guy is going to be in nearly every Granite list that I create, at least 1 or 2. So yeah, let's move on to the next guy. All right, last but not least, I don't think I missed any other characters, but last but not least is Grandmaster Voldus. He got a bit of a buff, I think, in this book. He's got a Dev Wound ranged gun, 12 inches, D3 plus 1 attacks at 12-2-2 with Dev Wounds. That's not nothing. His melee attack is notably like the only damage 3 datasheet melee like that's relevant. He's got 5 attacks hitting on 2s at 10-2-3. You know, not nothing. He's like 115 points though. It's kind of crazy, by the way. And then he always gives his unit he's leading -1 to hit, which is very cool. And each time his unit is selected to fight, you pick enemy unit with engagement. And then on a 2 through 3, they take 1 mortal. On a 4 through 5, they take D3. And then on a 6, they take D3 plus 3. Nice little mortal tax. You can stack this with a lot of stuff in the book. So, you know, it's not nothing. But Voldus, you got to probably come down like 20 points, buddy. He's 115 for this guy is kind of crazy. And very sad news. Pour one out, guys. No Drago. Drago is gone. He got lost. He's abandoned us. So there's no more Drago. And believe it or not, that was every character, I believe. So no Drago. Rip. All right. Next, we are going to move into the datasheets. All right. Now, the normal datasheet, non-character stuff. Let's just talk about the Nemesis Dread Knight first. The guy who's been carrying this book on his back for the last year. Okay, good news. He's exactly the same. End of review for this guy. He got exactly 0 changes that I am aware of, except that I think the Nemesis Greatsword is a teeny bit better, but he's exactly the same as he was before. He can advance and shoot, and fall back and shoot, fall back and charge, advance and charge. Very good. Same guy. You know, you're going to see this thing all over the place. If you had a bunch, it's good you have a bunch. If you don't have a bunch, get a bunch. All right, next, Purgation Squad. They are datasheet, like gun-wise, they're exactly the same. If you play more than 4, you still only get 4 special weapons, which I think is kind of stupid. So, like, if you play a 10-man, you still only get 4 special weapons. Kind of lame. However, they got rid of their indirect ability, and now what they do is when they shoot something except monsters and vehicles, you're going to give that thing -2 to its move and charge. So it doesn't affect advance, so it's like the worst version of this. It's like sort of useful, I guess. Like maybe you can like hit a Death Shroud unit and make it move like 3 inches, but like even it's not good. There's a couple little tricks you can do to make this unit shoot a little bit hard out of Razorbacks or something, but these guys are probably going to be watching for a while. I don't have any intention of playing them anytime soon. Interceptor Squad. If you guys have watched any of my stuff that touched on Grey Knights at all, it's like my favorite unit in the book. And good news, no changes on these guys. They are pretty much exactly the same on their data sheet. They still get to fire at Fade 6. However, they are 5 more points expensive for a 5-man, but I'll live with it. I still pretty much try and fit 2 of these guys, at least 1 in every one on my list. The mobility and fire and fade is just so useful in so many different scenarios. Like I always play this unit. However, in some of my detachments I've been playing, I actually am not playing them with a special weapon, just going 5 melee because of like how they've been like going into melee and whatever. But they're very cool, very nice. Again, I think a staple for a lot of good Grey Knight lists. Up next, the Purifiers. Now, this is the unit that from this and Paladins, I think, are the 2 biggest improvements in the whole Codex. It is very refreshing to have units that can do the kind of damage that these guys can do. So what they do now is, I mentioned on the Crow datasheet, they get Purifying Flame, is now Strength 4, AP 2, Damage 1, Anti-Infantry 2 plus, Ignore Cover. So we're already putting Space Marines on 5-up armor, like if they don't AOC, right? But now the datasheet rule for Purifiers used to be like mid. Now it is you always reroll once to wound, that is in shooting and melee, and then you full reroll to wound if your opponent is on an objective marker. There is no other restriction. If you control it, they control it, doesn't matter. If your opponent's toe is on that objective, you're full rerolling everything. And for those of you at home doing the math, when you have anti-infantry 2+ guns and you always roll ones, that means you are basically wounding almost 100% of the time with all of your purifying flame shots. Now the trick is to get all of them to hit, which there's many ways to do that. But right now, this unit is incredibly efficient at what it does. So just like as a quick example, this unit with Crow ends up being 24 shots at 4-2-1 anti-infantry 2+, rerolling ones, right? Then you have 44 Stormbolters after that, counting Crows, which is going to be hitting on your 3s, and then you're rerolling ones or full rerolling wound if your opponent made the mistake of playing the game and standing on an objective. And then after that, they get to charge, and it ends up being 35 or 34 or 36 6-2-2 melee attacks that are full rolling to wound. And this unit ends up just being able to do outrageous amount of damage in all the phases of the game. Don't take special weapons on them, I don't think. I think you want all the melee just because of the damage and that they have. Like, since they're strength 6, they wound like most of Warhammer on 5s. So just keep this in mind, guys. Like a 5+ re-rolling is equivalent to like a 3 up. So like they're basically wounding all of Warhammer on 3s, not factoring in like a crazy spike on your rerolls or whatever. This unit is awesome. I've been playing like anywhere from 10 to 25 in like a lot of the lists that I've been messing with. So purifiers are definitely going to be a staple in most Granite lists, if not all Granite lists. So definitely paint some helmets on some dudes if you're not already have them. Then we have the Strike Squad, the classic sticky home objective guys. They actually don't do anything different. They're the exact same as they were, except that, you know, with Gate of Infinity now, they can like stay off the table if you want to like rapid them in for like a sticky or something. But most part, they don't do anything different. They have Scout 6 and they sticky objectives, and they're just decent little guys that I love. I've been playing 1 to 3 units in every list, so definitely a staple. Like every Granite list should basically start at 1880. It's just because you're playing this unit. So yeah. Oh, baby, the Paladins. All right. So the Paladin unit got another gigantic improvement in this Codex. So they're the same as they were datasheet-wise. Like profile, they're movement 5, T5, 2 up, 4 up, 3 wounds, leadership 6, 1 OC. They can take the banner, so they're effectively OC2. And very notably, they now get the revive that the other Terminators have. So now you've got these guys standing back up, which is incredibly valuable. Over the course of a game, you get to like scam movement. Like if you come in from rapid, like one guy gets killed, you get to like basically jump him 2 inches over the front. Just from a durability standpoint, they're a lot better in that regard. Now their datasheet rule, they lost the -1 to wound if you're stronger, but we gained damage 3 on the charge. Damage 3 on the charge, outrageously significant. This unit has so much access to damage amp between dev wounds, sustained, lethals, reroll ones, like all this, tons of ways to just amp the damage on this data sheet to where these guys, like we did the math, like a Warpbane unit of these guys into Canis Rex averages 40 damage. Like with the character that gives them lethals, this unit swinging into Canis Rex basically is 40 damage on average, and that's without devs. There's ways to get them devs. It's just like this unit is so good. And something else very notable too is they can be taken in 4-mans. They can go in 4, 5, 8, and 10-mans. So you get to like save points and still kind of play the unit, because four of them is only 180. And I'll tell you from experience, that 4-man still swings up and it shreds a lot of different things in the game. You know, at damage 3, it's very, very good. And they also get a special weapon in a 4-man. So just be on the lookout for Paladins. I love these guys, and they are able to carry the boats a little bit to where the damage doesn't have to only come from NDKs. So Paladins, big winner in this book. I love it. Sort of a mid winner in this book. I haven't actually played these guys yet. In theory, maybe they're okay, but they're honestly so overshadowed by the Paladins. Like, unless you're just like going really Terminator skew, I'm not sure why you would ever pick these over Paladins. They're 160 points for 4. Same deal. You can take them in 4, 5, 8, and 10 mans. They get the same revive that they had before, and they get the banner. So they're effectively OC3. They got the melee attacks at 622. They hit on 3s, though, which is kind of sad still. But their Datasheet ability also changed, so they no longer get lethals on the charge. What they get now is you get improved AP against anything that's not a monster or vehicle. Don't know why they had to like put that caveat in there. Honestly, if they were AP3 against vehicles, that'd be very cool. But they're AP2 against vehicles, and then against like a space marine, they're AP3. So like, I guess you put it on like a 6-up armor save, or like you put a Rep-X on like a 6-up, sure, or not a Rep-X, like I don't know, something without arm, something without invulnerable save. But feels like most of this game has a 5-up invulnerable, so like, or a 4-up invulnerable. So who really cares? But not a terrible data sheet. I'm not going to be playing them unless I want to just like end up spamming Terminators, because Paladins are just like straight up so much better than these guys right now. A fan favorite, the Razorback. This is a fan favorite for me. I'm the fan, by the way. And I got one of my buddies to be big on the Razorback. Shout out to David Ozawa for getting me Razorback pilled. But the Razorback arguably is better than it was before. So what it does now is it's got the same guns, the twin length, last cannon, etc., hunter killer, blah blah blah. But what it does now is in the shooting phase, when it tags somebody with a Stormbolt or the last cannon, the guys who get out get +1 AP against that target for the rest of the turn. So that means you get out, you get AP1, AP1 Stormbolters, AP2 side cannons, AP2 incinerators coming out of this Razorback. And then when you hit the charge, your interceptors, which I have mostly inside of this, they're AP3 in melee, which, like, considering I usually have my interceptors as like my early skirmish unit, right? They're like usually charging scouts or like, tormentors or something mid in the middle of the board. Having them be AP3 in that interaction is like very significant, and it like almost guarantees that they're going to clean up whatever they go with. Other interesting things is like, a Purgation squad out of this can have AP2 incinerators, a 5-man a 5-man purifier unit out of this can be AP3 with its purifying flame. Like, there's a lot of cool application you can have with the Razorback. On top of that, it is a nice cheap unit to play in Grey Knights to allow you to do stuff early without giving up one of your more expensive squads. Still a huge Razorback fan. Most lists of mine are playing 2 Razorbacks, 2 Interceptors. I have a couple lists floating around with 4 of them, but for now, Razorback's still very cool. It's only 85 points, so we're very excited about the Razorback. Rhino, nothing really of note here. It's like the exact same, except its Datasheet ability changed. So what it does now, it has a random aura that if you're wholly within 6, you get a 6-up feeling of pain against mortals. Sure. I guess. Getting wholly within 6 of this, like, sure, and then you get a 6-up against mortals. It's funny, I guess. So good for the Razorback. The main reason you ever play this is because it holds 12 guys. So go Rhino. Good job, Rhino. I'm trying it to like carry around the advance and charge strike marines, but besides that, just take a Razorback. It's only 5 more points. All right, Land Raider Redeemer is the next guy here. Exactly the same as everyone else's Land Raider Redeemer, from what I understand. Nothing really to note. It's 285 points. It's 1 billion points. It's very strong. When the meta is the right way, Redeemers are cracked, but considering everyone is built to kill an Imperial Knight, I don't see a spot for Redeemer at the moment. Land Raider Crusader, I floated around actually playing this because it is only 220 points in the vehicle detachment, but 220 points is basically an NDK, and I don't know why I would ever take this garbage thing over NDK. It kills nothing, and doesn't have up-down, so, whatever. Cool transport capacity of 16. That's the only reason I like it. It can fit an 8-man Terminator unit, but that's really the only reason you'd ever play this. So moving on, the normal Land Raider is very cool. It's got 4 last cannon shots, a multi-melta, and then like a heavy bolter. So like it definitely shoots stuff. It's not the worst. I would consider playing it as something like Warpbane, where like all the last cannons can mostly hit. But right now, again, I'm pretty much off Land Raiders. Your other stuff is already over 200 points. You really don't have the space to babysit Land Raiders and still try and play the game. So you want to try them. They're very cool. They're still durable, but I think it is not the Land Raiders' time yet. All right, then I think the last guy I want to talk about is the Venerable Dreadnought. He's adorable. And I think he's very good. In a couple of detachments, I think this guy is actually fills a very cool role. So what he does now is he's only 140 points, so he went down. He's a T9, 2 up armor, 8 wounds, OC3. Okay. What he does now is in the shooting phase, after he shot one of the targets that you hit, you get to give your whole army +1 to hit against that in the shooting phase. So there's in a detachment, spoiler alert, and when the Brotherhood detachment, you get to reroll ones to hit and wound when you come in out of deep strike. So like if you have this guy paired up with NDKs, your NDKs are hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s in Brotherhood, which I think is very cool. And he also is like he's not like a pushover. He's like a 2 up armor, T9, and then he has smoke. So like he's just like annoying to kill. And then when you're shoving Dread Knights in your opponent's face that they can shoot at those, like this guy is just gonna get to stand there most of the time and no one's gonna mess with him. And very funny and very cool. He got Gate of Infinity, which means he gets to go up down. So he gets to follow around the Dread Knights. He has up down and deep strike. So he's like always with your Dread Knights doing what you need. And he's like got 5 attacks at hitting on 3s at 12, 3, 3 in melee with a Twin Link Glass Cannon and a Stormbolter / Heavy Flamer. Like, I love this guy. He's adorable. And if you guys haven't seen it, this model's very cute. He's like this big, and he's just very cute. He's very precious, and I love him. And I think in most of my Brotherhood lists, I'm going to be playing one just because of how efficient he makes your Dread Knight shooting. It's like, why not? It's very cool, and it's spicy. And that's what we aim to do, is be spicy. All right, detachments. This is the fun part. I love detachments. Warpbane, I'm really not going to cover, guys. Warpbane is basically the exact same, except Purifiers are just better in there, basically. But, all right. First one, Augurium Task Force. Forgive me if I can't pronounce that. I simply cannot. This is the Kickflip, do cool stuff detachment, quote-unquote tricky detachment. I have yet to really dig into this one too deep, but we're going to dive through it here, and maybe you guys can think of something cool to do with it, right? So, all right, how it works is, so from the second battle round onward, at the start of your movement phase, if you did not select the maximum amount of units for Gate of Infinity, meaning if you only picked up 2 at the end of their turn, at the start of, you can select that unit that's on the battlefield, and you can Gate of Infinity to them in your command phase. So what that means is basically you can like leave a guy on an objective, pick up 2 other units, and then your opponent ends their turn, and you go to your command phase, you draw your secondary cards, you check on that primary, and you score it with that unit, and then you get to pick that unit up. It's cool. It's very cute. It's like a neat way to like hold points without having to keep stuff there, which can be a Grey Knight problem mid to late game. So definitely very cute there. That is not the problem with the detachment, however. We will get into that shortly. So moving on to the enhancements. So Grey Knight model, once per battle, at the start of the fight phase, you can use this enhancement and you get 4 to the characteristic of the weapon equipped by the bearer. This kind of stacks really cool with the Grand Master, who gives himself +3, so you can effectively make him +7 strength once per game, which is kind of neat. But that's really about it. Like, you maybe throw it on an NDK and make him strength 18, but like you're still wounding knights on 3s. Like, you're only increasing your damage threshold on like T9 stuff, so not really that exciting there. If anyone has a different idea for that, go ahead and try it out. Next one, Grey Knight model only, once per battle. Sensing the theme here, the once per battle stuff. You can use this enhancement, and you give +2 toughness to that unit until the end of the round. So you can make your NDKs T10, you can make your Terminators T7. Like, there's a lot of weird little things you can do with this. I don't love it, whatever. This one is pretty cool, though. It's whenever a unit is set up from reserves, they get to move D6. However, you can't charge, but it's best to just throw this on a Grandmaster with a Melta, because he drops in 9 away, right? You roll the dice. No matter what you roll, you're within 9 of your target because of how math works. So you're always going to be in Melta range with your Grandmaster out of Deep Strike, which I think is very cool. And then the last one, which I also think is pretty cute, is each time they're set up from the reinforcements, keep in mind, we're going up, down 1 trillion times in a game. You put out a pulse of 12-inch and visible, and you force a -1 battle shock on one of those models within 12. So it's cute. That could definitely be like your last, 15 points or 20 points, whatever it is, to be annoying with your like NDKs and stuff like that. That's the enhancements. Strats. Let's talk about strats. So first strat, shooting or fight phase, ignore mods on hitting and hit a number of mods on weapon skill and ballistic skill. Hooray. Not that fun, not that exciting. I really don't want to be spending 1 CP on this. However, your opponent like maybe goes like smoke or something, so your NDK can hit better. I don't know. It's whatever. Next is called Appointed Hour. This is the best strat in here, in my opinion. Basically, on a shooting or fight phase, target a Granite Psyker unit, and they get crit 5s. Very cool. Now, you'll notice there's a lack of crits in this book in general. There's really not much point-and-click sustained, like via characters or anything like that. So the best use I can really find for this is crit Paladins, lethals on 5s. That's really it. That unit will crack some stuff. Honestly, critting on 5s is very cool, but that's really the only unit I can find. Like, the other option is like Purgation squads out of a Razorback. Because now you can have your silencers crit on 5s and then their AP 1, whatever. If you guys, I can't find anything else to use the crits on, frankly. Next one, shooting phase or fight phase, Granite Walker unit, aka Dread Knight, -1 to hit, shooting or fight. It's cute. It might keep them alive in some instances, but don't love it. Next one is called Necessary End. It is a conditional fight on death. So Granite Infantry that has been selected, in the fight phase, when a unit is destroyed, you roll a dice, and if you're higher than the battle round, you get to fight on death. It's just fight on death gets worse as the longer the game goes on. So if you are really aggressive with a heavier unit, like turn 1 or 2, and your opponent charges them, you have a pretty consistent fight on death there, which is not nothing. It's only 1 CP. The other one, this is Kickflip number 2. That's not the army roll or detachment roll. At the end of my command phase, I can pick up another unit. So what this means in this attachment, guys, is you get to see all your secondaries, score 2 different objectives that maybe you're standing on, and then pick those 2 units up to go do more stuff on this in the same turn. It's cool. It's neat. You're assuming your opponent is screening like an imbecile, for all this stuff to be super effective, but it's very cute. I can see it being really powerful the longer the game goes on and your opponent loses stuff, especially in really simplified games where you're just trying to scam primary. You get to scam the primary and then still pick them up, which is very cool. And then the last one, it's very neat. However, your opponent can play around this pretty easily. It's called Mirage of Echoes. When your opponent comes in out of reserves within 12 of one of your Psykers, you can spend a CP and put yourself in strat reserve. I could definitely see some application. I don't want to say that it's trolling. I just if my opponent has a gun that is range 24, who cares? They just drops within 12 and shoot me anyway. But it definitely will come up, I bet, more than I think. I actually have a really cool list in mind for this that I will be sharing in either this video or another one. But it's a really cool concept. It's spams a lot of strike squads with advance in charge and a crit 5 paladin unit. It's very cool. I definitely am willing to consider trying it. But that's it for Augurium Task Force. I don't love it, but I think it has some really neat tools and tricks that maybe you could use with some practice or whatever. But the other detachments you'll find feel a little bit better than this one. So next we are going to be doing Spearhead. Alrighty, so Sanctic Spearhead. This is the other detachment. This is the vehicle-focused detachment. So I spent a lot of time talking with one of my buddies about this list, and he's played it in a few games, and he really, really loves it. So what it is the detachment rule says that each time a Granite vehicle advances, you add 6 to that roll, right? You just get a 6, right, instead of rolling for it, and all their guns get assault, which is very cool. So that means that your Dread Knights are always going 14, your Land Raiders are always going max distance. This is a detachment where I could see a Redeemer not being worthless, and the Venerable Dreadnought gets to go 14 and shoot all of his guns. Very cool. But enhancements, we have Driven by Duty. This is for walkers only, aka the Grandmaster Dread Knight. He gets a pilot consolidate 6. It's not nothing. There's a lot of instances where maybe you go Tank Shock a last guy and then you get to pile in 6 to something that's further away. Very good. Next one's called Quickening. I don't know, Quickening Foci, whatever, Foci. It's Granite Infantry. When you disembark from a transport, you get to reroll charge. Very cool. It can come up with like a Redeemer or like a Razorback or something interesting. Next one, and you guys will recognize this one. It's a classic, Sigil of Exigeance. It is the exact same as it was before, and this is just the detachment that it's in now. You can throw this on any Grey Knight character that can take an enhancement. You know, so my favorite thing to do with this currently is the Librarian, who gives you Loan Op 18, gets paired with Sigil of Exigence, and then you kind of play the game with that unit like on its own flank, and now your opponent like has to do this weird commitment to get within 18 to shoot you, and then you're just like, I wonder how many of those, can that gun kill me? And then they're like, oh yeah, I can kill like 2 of them, and you're thinking like, okay, so you kill 2, I revive 1, who cares? And then on the flip side, they go commit like enough guns to scare you within 18 inches. Now all of a sudden you get to like rapid ingress something like safely to go charge those things, and then they shoot you, and then you get to leave the table and like pseudo rapid ingress as well because you come down right away. Super good. It changes your opponent's play pattern like outrageously well, and that is honestly the reason to play this detachment outside of one of the strats. And then moving on to the next one is in the shooting phase, when you disembark from a transport, you get rerolls to wound. Again, in the shooting phase, so like not a ton of this stuff is incredible when you get out of a transport, but you can do it with incinerators, with paladins, like out of a Redeemer, purifiers already get it, so like you wouldn't use it on them. And the only other like real shooting platform that's infantry is like Purgation, and like I just don't like them very much, so sure. Now stratagems. These are very cool. I actually really like this attachment. So, stratagems. True Server Will, 1 CP. Any phase after a Granite Psyker model suffers a mortal. So it's after you take the damage, not before, which is nice. You just get a 4+ Feel No Pain against it, which is very nice. So, like, if your opponent's trying to, like, throw a bunch of mortals into your Dread Knight, you get to have some saves for it. Or, it only works on the vehicle, so it doesn't help the Paladins, but, whatever. Now, this strat, the next one. Abominus Class Targets is the name of it. It is 1 CP, and this and Sigil of Exigence, I believe, are the 2 reasons that you should play this attachment, and you really need to leverage these. Because keep in mind, remember guys, Paladins damage 3 melee on the charge, and Purifiers full roll wounds. Okay? So, your shooting phase or fight phase, point at 1 Grey Knight unit, notably not a vehicle. Any Grey Knight unit gets +1 to wound against a monster or vehicle. Okay? So what that means is, since all your weapons are strength 6, most of Warhammer 40k is T11 or lower, right? Outside of a couple examples. That means that your Paladins are going to be just straight up wounding Titans and big stuff on 4s at AP2 damage flat 3 with a bunch of attacks. And Purifiers, assuming you're like fighting something on a point, you are charging in with 30 attacks with Purifiers and going full rolls to wounding on 4s. That I watched it do like 26 damage to something like the other day. Like, it's just so much damage you can get from these things. Not to mention, you can give it to NDKs, like +1 to wound with a Redeemer, and something like +1 to wound with the Meltas. There's a lot of cool applications you can do with here. So this strat is definitely going to anchor this detachment along with Sigil of Exigence, and I really, really, really like it. Next one is Armored Aegis. Point and click, heal 3 wounds on a vehicle. Very cool. So remember, Dread Knight, the character Dread Knight, like gets a strat for free. So you can even view this as like heal 3 wounds for free, assuming like you're in that environment. Next one, vehicle, 1 CP, fallback, shoot and charge. This is really significant for the character NDKs, which are notably much better than the normal other NDKs. So they can like get charged, whatever. Cool, I don't die. Now next turn I get to fall back, shoot my Melta at something, and then recharge and like hopefully kill the thing that just charged me, whatever. It's very cool. It's really the only model that I think it's super relevant on. Next one is another very cool one, and keep in mind, guys, Venerable Dreadnoughts move 14, and so they 1 CP you can ram a vehicle through a wall. Very cool. So character NDKs can go through walls now for 1 CP. The auto advancing 6 normal NDKs can go through walls, so it just gives you a lot of flexibility with catching like angles with your vehicles that maybe you didn't have before. Very, very good strat. You can also like Kool-Aid Man or Redeemer through the middle of layout 1 and just have 4 or 5 Paladins get out, whatever, and go kill stuff. Neat idea. I really like it. And then the last one is when you end a charge move, 1 CP, everything within 3, not just the thing you charge, everything within 3 takes a battle shock at -1. It's neat. And then you still have like the free strat with your NDKs, etc. So this attachment, honestly, one of the cooler ones. I really like it. Not my favorite, but I think it has a ton of cool tools to like play the game the right way. It worries me they don't really have any like escape mechanism like Miss Demos or whatever besides Sigil. However, the detachment has a ton of play, and I think that when you start throwing in Venerable Dreadnoughts, you make all of your guns really consistent. And yeah, let's move on to the next one. We're going to talk about Banishers, which is actually my favorite one. So here we go. All right, Banishers. My favorite detachment currently. I've played about 3 or 4 games with this attachment. Notably, I've won all of them. However, one of them, I got really lucky going second, if I'm being honest. But I think I played a little poorly. But yes, Banishers, my current favorite attachment, has tons of really cool tools, and it has a detachment rule that I think is very fun. So, detachment rule, when a granite unit is selected to fight, you take a leadership check. If you pass, you get lethal or sustained in melee. I wish it was in shooting also, but it is just in melee. Here, it's very cool. Now, it's not super reliable. It's like 60% or whatever. You'll get it, whatever a 6-up is, right? But it's very good. Honestly, though, like the tools and enhancements in this detachment are so good that this just ends up being like a bonus. You don't like need it. It's just like, oh, sick, I got my sustained. That's kind of like how I view it. I don't really play with me factoring in that I'm going to get this, but it's very strong. It's very cool, and it makes you feel good when you hit it. So the enhancements are mostly very good. So only 10 points for this one. In the shooting phase, you roll all 1s to hit. I just throw this on a GM NDK and move on. You make him efficient and move on. Okay. Next one, Inferior Tome. At the start of the shooting phase, you move D6 and you can't charge. I don't love this one, really. I don't really see the need for it. Like, if you could charge after, I think it'd be very cool, but like, what are you going to do? Like, get into a transport or something? Like, I just don't see why I would ever use this enhancement. If I'm missing something, maybe like you guys let me know, but I don't really like it. I'm not going to be paying for it. Now, this next one is crazy. I love this next one. It's called 66 Seal. Number 1, that's a very cool name. And number 2, you just get +1 AP on all your weapons in the shooting phase. So let me break it down for you. You know that I played 2 games now, and it's been incredibly good. 10 Paladins and a Librarian with 66 Seal. So what this is now you have 5 Incinerators that are AP2, ignore cover. So it's 5 D6 Incinerator shots, AP2, ignore cover. Then you have your Librarian, who's D6 +3 at 832 with his gun. And then you have, whatever Stormbolts are left that are AP1. This unit absolutely shreds, and it overwatches so good. Like, this unit is awesome. I love it. You can also throw it on like an NDK for AP3 ignore cover side cannons or something. But like, I think this is just so good on any unit that has a bunch of flamers. Notably, you can give this to a Tech Marine, and he can join a 10-man Purifier unit. So you have like AP3 ignore cover purifying flame shots. Another very cool idea. Now, you only have 10 of those shots because you don't have Crow, but like, there's a lot of neat stuff that you can do with 66 Seal. Currently, it's with my Paladins. And then the last one is Pyrosoul. It's already a shooting phase. You just see something within 24 and say, you take D3 Mortals. Nothing else required. No dice rolling, not on a 2+. Just like, hey, I see you. Take D3 Mortals. Sorry. Very cool. 66 Seal and Sigil the Hunt go in all of my Banisher lists at the moment. Now, where you put them, you could theoretically flex it somewhere, but right now I put the Sigil or 66 Seal on Paladins and the Hunter on my GM NDK. All right, next one. The strats. More very, very awesome strats in this one. So we have Hex Rot Reprisal. This one says when your opponent does a mortal to you, so let's just say a Redeemer tank shocks you and does 6 mortals to you, you can then use this strat, and on a 2+, you inflict those mortals back to them as well. It's neat. It's like a cool way of Emperor of Children Demon Prince can charge you, and then you can hit him back with some of his mortals. It's not nothing. Don't love it, but I've used it a couple times. Next one. This comes up in pretty interesting scenarios, and it's definitely not worthless. It comes up late game a lot when your opponent's like trying to like chip you down or whatever. In your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after they pick their targets, one Grey Knight Psyker from your army, which is everything, gets a 5-up Feel No Pain against damage 1. It's not nothing. There's a lot. Sometimes you get spammed by like AP 2 damage 1 or something. This is a really cool way to keep your Terminators alive that have 3 wounds. I really like it. This next one, this pairs incredibly well with either Purifiers with Crow or the 66 Sigil unit. It's called Chaos Bane. In your shooting phase, you pick a Grey Knight Psyker, and they get Anti-Chaos 4+. Very good, right? So the Purifiers can be shooting like a billion AP2 shots at like a knight that's on an objective or something, and now you can make them wound on 4s with full rerolls. You can end up doing like a lot of damage to an Imperial Knight just through like chip. And then the Librarian unit has Incinerators, which normally wound on 5s. You can basically make them wound on 4s and do a lot of damage to something maybe you weren't supposed to. All right, now we have yet another very cool strat in this detachment. It's called Celerity, I think is what it's called. In your charge phase, notably the timing, in the charge phase, Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army can advance and charge. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, GW, for this one. This is so good for your Terminators and your Paladins. Just trying to get places. Just moving 5 sucks. And being able to like point and click, advance and charge makes this life so much better. And you get to see your advance roll before you have to decide if you want to do this. Now, notably, it is only Grey Knight Psyker infantry, so you can't use this on like a GM NDK. But like giving like an 8-man Paladin break advance and charge or whatever, it just opens the game up so much, and your opponent has to be so much more like careful of this kind of stuff. Or like when you rapid, you like now all of a sudden have like a whole other pool of targets you can go for because maybe you rapided 9 from something and then you roll a 6 on your advance, and now all of a sudden you get to go 11 inches with your brick of Terminators and charge. You're just going to rip stuff in half with this. It's so cool. Next one is another very neat stratagem. It's called Circle of Sanctuary. At the start of your opponent's movement phase, the timing kind of is sad because your opponent like can like know that it happened. But so like opponent's movement phase, you pick a character model, notably can be an NDK, and you just go boom, 12-inch no deep strike. That's pretty good. So that means that like you can't get Death Shrouded. It has a lot of implication in the game. You can't get Inceptored or whatever they're called. You can't get Death Shrouded. You know, against demons, they can't 6-inch deep strike and charge you. The Mirror, Warp Bane, or whatever can't 6-inch deep strike and charge you. This ability is like very cool, and I think it's very underrated. And I think it will help it'll help a lot of matchups feel a lot better. To remember, it's a character model, not a character unit. So you'll get the pulse from your character model. I think it's probably the best on an NDK because it's got a big base. But you know, having like your librarian that's maybe in the middle of the table pop this out or something, it's very cool and very good. And now, guys, the reason we play this attachment. Okay, it's called Shadow of Anarch. Now, if you remove its mask, it's Mists of Deimos. Literally Mists of Deimos. Exactly Mists of Deimos. Why they changed it to be this name makes me sad. And you know what? When I play, I still call it Mists of Deimos because, you know, whatever. So for those of you who don't know, Mists of Deimos says in your opponent's movement phase, just after they ended a normal, advance, or fallback move, if they stepped their toe within 9 inches of you, you get to go, oops, 1 CP, I leave the table. That's it. Or you to react and move up to 6 inches, which is not nothing either. Like you can use it to like make a charge impossible or go steal an objective or something like that. But this is the reason to play this attachment, guys. Like when you look at all these strats combined with the data sheets and these enhancements, I think this is the best attachment in this book. Outside of Warpbane, honestly, like as sad as to say it, Warpbane might still be the best, but like of the new detachments, like this attachment has all the tools that you need to win games of Warhammer. It has damage amp, it has durability, it has mobility, it has ways to like use utility to screen out stuff. It has consistency against chaos. Like I love this attachment. I've played 4 games with it now, or 3 or 4 games, and it is just awesome. It feels so clean on the table. You can do so many things with this. And like people are like, oh, it's just Miscedemus. Like, yes, it's Miscedemus. But remember, in Index where we had Miscedemus, we didn't have like a ton of damage amp like on our data sheets for free, right? In this one, like we're realistically getting free sustain, free lethals. Our purifiers are full rolling wounds. Our paladins are damage 3. Our GMNDKs like have meltaguns. Like we just have so much more damage to where like having to be able to inflict this much damage and then like leave the table for free and then rapid ingress on the same turn with that same unit on the opposite side of the table and then go kill something else is like just outrageously strong. So, you know, Banishers, if you guys are like not sure where to start, I think Banishers is like an incredible first start to like the new book, and I am in love with this detachment, and likely the first big tournament I'm able to play, I'm going to be playing Banishers. So moving on to the next one, which is Brotherhood, another very, very good one, and I love Brotherhood also. All right, next we have Brotherhood Strike, another new detachment from the book, and I think this is a very neat one, and funnily enough, I actually think this is the detachment you spam Dread Knights in, and not the vehicle one. I think they're a lot more efficient in this book than the vehicle detachment, but like obviously both are good. In the vehicle one, if you like have the Venerable help them out, I think that like they're also very strong there. And then obviously Warpbane. But okay, Brotherhood Strike. Each time a unit from your army is set up from Deep Strike until the end of the turn, each time that model fights, notably in melee or shooting, you reroll hits of 1 and wounds of 1. So like when you have 4 or 5 NDKs dropping in, rerolling 1s to hit and 1s to wound, they just become dramatically efficient into like most targets they want to shoot at. And this is the detachment, guys, that I really, really, really like Venerable Dreadnoughts. I like 1 Venerable Dreadnought, 5 NDK, and then the rest of the list you can like, and then 1 Strike Squad, and then the rest of the list you can like plug into like be your own preference. Notably, you can fit like an 8-man Paladin unit, you could fit like 5 Strike Squad units, you can fit a lot of cool stuff with the rest of your points, but we'll talk about it later. Because basically the Venerable Dreadnought gives you +1 to hit, because it has Deep Strike as well, and then all your Dread Knights at that target are rerolling 1s. So you can like pick and point and click and like shred something with this. It's very good. Makes you outrageously consistent. So next, enhancements. We have Banishing Wave. Each time the bearer's unit is set up, everything within 12 takes a mortal wound on a 2 through 5, and if you roll a 6, it takes D3 mortals. And that's every unit. You don't pick one. So like you drop in a Dread Knight, and I'm picturing just like a big like boom. And then everything within 12 takes 1 mortal or D3 mortals, which is very cool. And over the course of a game, when you're bringing something in 4 or 5 times, it just puts a big tax on mortals, and it can help scam, kill stuff as well, which is very cool. Next is Blinding Aura. Any Grey Knight model can take this one. It just says when you're set up using Deep Strike, you can't be Overwatched. Not relevant in every matchup, but it's very cheap, and it's usually like one of the last things you throw on like a GM NDK or Paladins or whatever. Okay, next one, Purity of Purpose. I don't love the theme of banging 9-inch charges, but this does let you bang 9-inch charges for free. So what it does is a Grey Knight model, each time they're set up, the turn that they come in, they get to reroll charges made for the unit. Cool. So like, you know, incentivizing banging out 9s like makes me very sad. However, sometimes you just bang the 9 and then you win the game, and that is just part of the Grey Knight life. So definitely want to try and find room for that. And then the last one, which I think is like a mandatory auto include when you play this attachment in a staple of it, like if there's like a poster for this attachment, it would probably be this. It's called Tome of Forbidden Ways. Any Grey Knight model can take it, and then while they're on the battlefield or in Deep Strike, you get to pick up an additional thing with Gate of Infinity. And for those of you at home counting, that means you can pick up 4 units a turn with Gate of Infinity. So that means like Venerable Dreadnought plus 3 NDKs is like what I've been picking up, and like bang, you just have this like brick of like stuff that's going to drop in and blow up whatever target it is because it is so efficient. Overall, really like this stats rule. It's very consistent, and there's like no caveats. All this stuff just happens for free. Okay, so let's move on to the strats. And honestly, there's a very real competition between this and Banishers on the best strats in the book. So starting with the first strat, this is 2 CP notably, but remember we have a lot of access to getting free CP from like your Grandmasters and your Grandmaster and Grandmaster Dread Knight. There's 2 CP in your fight phase. Grey Knight Infantry can, boom, get dev wounds. dev wounds on paladins at damage 3, guys. This cracks. It cranks, it cracks, it does every C word you can imagine. You run this into like whatever you want to kill, and I'm not sure anything in Warhammer can look at this and survive. A paladin brick, 8 paladins and a grandmaster charging you, boom, 1 CP dev wounds at damage 3. I'm pretty sure you are dead. Show me the thing that can live that, and I'll be very impressed. On average, it like pretty much kills a big knight. It does so much damage. It's crazy, and it's uninteractable damage for the most part. It's very cool and awesome. Next, you 1 CP any Grey Knight infantry, or no, any Grey Knight unit, not infantry, gets a 6-inch deep strike. We love that. We love 6-inch deep strike, and we cannot charge. But it's a 6-inch deep strike. Main use for this is with the Melt-A-Gun on the character. You just get to guarantee your Melt-A-Gun is in range for Melt of 4. Moving on to the next one, another very, very cool one for only 1 CP. You point at a Grey Knight unit that came in from Deep Strike, and you give them sustained hits with their guns. So what that means, there's two different units this is really, really good on. The Crow Purifier unit, when they drop in, they get 24 Purifying Flame shots and then 44 Stormbolter shots, right? You just 1 CP, all of that gets sustained hits. And you end up and then reroll 1s to wound or reroll all wounds. That unit just will shred infantry to oblivion. Okay, and then you also reroll 1s to hit. So your sustained hits, rolling 1s to hit, and then if you are a venerable dreadnought lover like me, you're hitting on 2s. So now you're hitting with like 100% of your shots with sustained, and then going into rerolling 1s to wound or 4 rolls to wound with your purifier unit, and it just cranks. Very good. Next one, Duty Unending. This is like Mists of Deimos from Temu, basically. However, it's a little bit better in a certain sense. So what it says is 1 CP in your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit that was engaged with you falls back. 1 or more Grey Knight units that are not engaged with anything can go to Deep Strike. Now, you might say, why is that a little better than Mists of Deimos in that regard? Well, one way that people can play around Mists of Deimos is if their thing has more than 9 movement, you can move like outside of 9 and like I can't Deimos. This just says it doesn't matter. If you fall back from me, I get to leave the table. Now, like, that is really significant when you're playing paladins and purifiers, because what does that mean? You're infantry, okay? So let me, like, a scenario that is very real and has come up many times. So you charge your purifiers and you kill whatever's on the point. And then, oops, my opponent has a Razorback, or, like a dedicated transport within 4 of me. Now my purifier unit gets to go 4 inches, tag said thing, and now what does that mean, right? That means that your opponent either basically cannot shoot you, right? Because your infantry that is engaged or something. So now they can't shoot you. If they fall back, you get to leave the table and then rapid ingress back somewhere else and go charge something again next turn. Or C, they have to stay engaged with you, not shoot you, and hope they have a unit that is good enough in melee to go kill you. There are 3 options. 2 options involve you taking exactly 0 damage, which is very cool, right? And now, like, against some matchups, like maybe like a heavy dedicated army, like maybe like Imperial Guard, for example, they just have no answer to this specific strat, because like you touch the Chimera or whatever, or the Leman Russ, and now like their option is to fall back to the Leman Russ and you take 0 damage, or they don't shoot you and you take 0 damage and you kill the Leman Russ because you're still fighting it. Or option C, you charge it with like a Dorn or something and like tank shock you. Like this is so good in certain matchups that like it is polarizing for your opponent. Next, opponent shooting phase, pick a Grey Knight thing and you get stealth. It's not nothing. Paladins with stealth are very cool. We love stacking durability. Next one, another very, very broken strat in this book, and this is another reason why it's a competition for best strats. So it is 2 CP, and again, you have the deduction, whatever. It's 2 CP, and you get to pick up from engagement range with Gauge Infinity. Okay, and it's different. Like, let me read this real quick. Yeah, so you get to pick up from engagement range, and it does not count against your Gate of Infinity. It's so good. So good. This means that, like, let's say you're in like an emergency scenario and your paladins are tied up with something that maybe you're not going to kill next turn, and your opponent like exposed something on like the opposite flank of the table. You just got to go, you know what, 2 CP, pick up all my paladins, drop them over there, and kill it. Or like a character Dread Knight gets tied up. There's just so many applications for this. I love it, and it is another reason to play this attachment. Overall, this attachment is incredible. It is so cool, and I really, really enjoy the couple games I've played with it. However, I'm just a little bit more partial to Banishers, but like, if you want to play NDKs and like Purifiers with Crow, I think this is the detachment for them. And then, guys, don't be mean to the Venomlord Dreadnought. Try that guy out. He wants to help. That's all he does. He wants to help and be that guy for the first time in his Grey Knight life. All right, and the last attachment is the Terminator detachment. I like this one. It's cute. It's just like it kind of like it just falls in that middle ground between like being really good like Brotherhood and Banishers and being like bad like Augur or whatever. It's like probably a little better than Augur or whatever and worse than Spearhead. It falls right in like the bottom of the book basically. But what it says is Terminator units from your army are eligible to shoot and charge on the turn in which they fell back. So this is implying your Terminator units survive a charge from something that wants to charge them, which is like, you know, if something wants to charge Terminators, they're usually ready to kill them. But it's pretty neat. It gives you some nice flexibility on the detachment. In terms of enhancements, so Grey Knight model, not Terminator. So Grey Knight model, once per battle, if you do, the unit can fire Overwatch or Heroic for free, and you can use those strats again. So something really cool you can do with this is, let's say you're probably playing a lot of Terminators in this attachment. So let's say you have like 2 Paladin bricks on like the same side of the table, and your opponent's dares move within 12 of both of them. What you can do is you can pay 1 CP to Overwatch with 5 Incinerators from 1 Paladin unit, and then you immediately structure the timing to where your other Paladin unit overwatches with 5 or 6 more Incinerators. In this scenario, it'll probably be 6. So then now you get like an 11d6 at 611 Overwatch, which is like very cool for 1 CP. I don't know how real it is. Your opponent probably is not going to run into that, but like having that threat is very cool. Next one is Inescapable Judgment, Grey Knight model. Once again, each time an enemy unit that was engaged with you falls back, you can use this as an enhancement. On a d6, on a 2 through 5, they take d3 mortal wounds, and then on a 6, they take d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. It's kind of cool. Like if you charge a tank or something, you get to like ping it on the way out. You know, I like it. Next one, this is probably an auto take, is Grey Knight Terminator model, aka Grandmaster. Is most likely taking this. Add 3 to his attack characteristics. For those of you counting at home, that ends up being plus 6 attacks for that guy when he wants to go crazy, which is very cool. So it'll be strength 9 with I think 12 attacks or 11 attacks at 922. It's pretty cool. And then the last one, they really love Overwatch in this attachment for some reason, but Grey Knight Terminator model, each time they bear unit Overwatches, they get to Overwatch on 5s. Sure. I mean, you're mostly taking Incinerators anyway, so like who really cares about that one? But, it's not nothing. Again, I'm not going to take that one. I'm probably going to take the free Heroic and then the plus 3 attacks are like the main 2 that I like to take here. Moving on. Oh, this is a Hallowed Conclave, by the way. I don't know if I said that. Called Hallowed Conclave is the name of the detachment if you want to talk about it with your friends, whatever. But, all right. It has some decent strats. I don't love them, but they're decent. First one is called Giants of the Battlefield. It is 1 CP in the fight phase. You just give +1 attack to all your Terminators. And then for those of you still counting at home, now all of a sudden the GM gets +7 attacks. So he can he's like a whole 2 guys by himself. So yeah, you get +1 attack to all your Paladins that are damage 3. It's very cool. It's 5 attacks apiece. So like that means a 10-man Paladin that's 50 attacks plus the 12 from the carriers, 62 attacks. It's pretty good. It will definitely smack something. The next one is 1 CP 4-up fight on death for Grey Knight Infantry. It's not nothing. It's very cool. It means that your opponent gets taxed for killing your Terminators. The next one is hilarious. Is it good? I don't know. Probably not. It's called Point Blank Purgation. It is 1 CP in my shooting phase. All my Stormbolters get pistol and twin linked. Very cool. We love that. it might be useful again for killing poxwalkers or something. Next one is charge phase. It's called Grind Them Underfoot. It is in your charge phase just after a Grey Knight Terminator unit makes a charge. You get to basically tank shock them for every guy in your unit on a 4+. So you get to roll 8, 9, 11 dice. For every 4+, you do a mortal. And Matt caps at 6, but still, it's mostly going to be 6 mortals like every time. It's very cool. Next one, when your opponent ends a move within 9 of your infantry, you get to react and move D6. I don't really, this feels like bad to me. If you're playing like a Redeemer or something, it's kind of cool. Or like maybe you park a Razorback or Rhino by like a Purifier unit or something. You can like react and move back into it, but you know, react and moving D6 is like whatever. What is that exactly doing for you? I don't know. Your Terminator bases are like kind of big, so like you don't even guarantee you get back over a wall. It's like mid. And then the last one is called Shining Resolve. 1 CP. When your opponent picks you to shoot, you can make them -1 to wound if you're stronger, or if they're stronger. So that just adds some durability to your guys. Like you can have Voldus in your unit and then like have this, and your unit's like kind of hard to kill then. But yeah, guys, this is the Terminator Detachment. I think like you could probably get away with playing like 30 Terminators, like, you know, like maybe like 3 8-man paladins with characters. That's like 1,200-ish points. Then you can play like maybe two or three 4-man normal Terminators, and then like a strike squad, and then something else. Like that could maybe be a cool list. I don't know for sure, but I haven't really spent much time thinking about this one. I frankly don't like it that much, but it's cool. It lets your Terminators be really flexible. But yeah. That is the whole book, guys. Warp Bane is the exact same. It's probably the best attachment, like I said, but I'm going to be trying all of these other ones quite a bit. But yeah, guys, that is like the whole book. I really like this book. I might be biased. I love my Grey Knights, but I really, really, really like this book. And I encourage you to don't get discouraged. Don't go online and read Reddit and see everyone complaining about this book. I've played about 8 games total, like, you know, with this book, and it feels good. It feels very good. Your damage is significantly better with the Paladins now being strong. The Melt-A-Gun adds so much to your like shooting phase that you didn't have before. Like, don't start dooming this book, guys. I promise this book is not trash. This book is very playable. Just have an open mind and don't go into all your games like angry and annoyed about that we didn't get the most broken book in the game. Now, is it the most broken book in the game? Definitely not. Is it better than what we had before? Absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to going to GTs and playing a big event with this. Once this thing is legal, I am likely not playing another army in a tournament for a while. So be on the lookout for my results, etc., etc. I'm going to close out the video with some lists for Banishers that I've played, a list for Brotherhood that I've played and liked, and a list for Augur that I think is very cool. And I'm going to share my buddy's Spearhead list that he's been trying, and I think he's 3-0 with it or 2-0 with it or something. But yeah, I've got a lot of cool ideas, and be on the lookout for tons and tons of Grey Knight content in addition to my normal stuff. So here come the lists. I only need to be visible here. So just a list for Banishers that I have played a couple times now, and it felt really good and very clean. So it's just 2 Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knights. One has Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark says they reroll 1s to hit when shooting, so that just makes them very efficient with their shooting when they come in. The other one just is good at the game, right? Then we have 1 Librarian with the 66 seal. That is going to give him +1 AP to his whole unit in shooting. So for those who don't know, you end up with 3 Incinerators and then the Librarian's gun, which is all very good and very strong, and with +1 AP. Then we have Castellan Crow, who's just him. We love Castellan Crow. Then we have 8-man Paladins with 3 Incinerators, 2 4-man Paladins with 1 Incinerator each, and then 2 Strike Squads and 1 big brick of Purifiers with Crow, and then 1 Interceptor unit for doing early game stuff. One thing to note, Paladins are 180 for 4 guys, and then 360 for 8. So if any of you guys do plug this list in, just please factor in that Paladins are a little bit cheaper than is reflected in maybe what we saw in the book points. All right, cool. That is it for the Banishers detachment. This is a really well-rounded one with advance and charge and things like that. You're able to like miss a Deimos and then rapid ingress like in the same turn. It's very strong. It's a really well-rounded detachment. Definitely give it a try. This is currently my favorite list that I have. All right, then I have a pretty straightforward Brotherhood Strike detachment here with my little Venerable Dreadnought twist into it. If you don't like the Venerable Dreadnought, like most people, which I totally understand, you just basically cut him and the Caluxus, and you should have enough points for another Dreadnought. All right, so the list is 2 Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadnoughts, one with Tome of Forbidden Ways. That's going to allow you to pick up 4 units with Gate of Infinity. Very cool. The Venerable Dreadnought, who just now achieved the Gate of Infinity rule, so he does have Deep Strike and Up Down, which is awesome for him. So he gets to follow around 3 NDKs and just make them absurdly efficient because he's making them hit on 2s and then they're rerolling 1s to hit and wound. It's very cool. Then I have 1 5-man strike squad to do his duty of standing on my home point until I need him. 3 normal Nemesis Dreadnoughts. Those guys are the ones that get advance and charge. I give them a side cannon and an incinerator. In this attachment, you definitely could go with a silencer, but I'm just going to incinerator for right now. It's a little more consistent. Then I have 3 4-man paladin units and a Caluxus assassin. This attachment is super cool and very fun to play. It's got a lot of fun tools that I really like in Warhammer 40k, and it's probably the Dreadnought detachment in my opinion. Like this or Warpbane are like probably your two best ones to play NDKs. Believe it or not, I don't love Dreadnoughts in the vehicle detachment as much as you would think, but yeah, this attachment's very fun, very solid, and when in doubt, just make it 6 NDKs, 3 paladins, and a strike squad, and there you go. It's a very solid list. So that's it for Brotherhood. I got one more for you. All right, I bet this is not the detachment you wanted or were hoping for, but I did make a cool Augurium task force list that I actually think is very interesting and might not be the worst thing in the world. So I'm playing 2 Brother Champion. That's the guy who gives people advance in charge. A Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadnought with the Side Cannon Melt-Up. Spoiler alert, that's like what they're always going to have. Then I have a Brother Captain. He gives the unit lethals. And remember, in this attachment, you do have a stratagem for crit 5s with your units, which is very cool. So then I have 2 10-man strike units, 3 5-man strike units, 2 rhinos for the strike squads, and then a paladin unit with incinerators. Then I have a Caluxus and a Calidus. Pretty sure the points break out pretty well here. You could switch the Caluxus assassin and the Calidus for like a Terminator unit or something, but I was really trying to lean into the extra pickups and really fun command phase stuff you can do with this attachment, hence leaning really heavy into strike squads. I think there's some potential here. Is it good? I don't know, but this is something I probably am going to try just because I do think the Augurium Task Force is really cool. But yeah, guys, that's really the list I have for you. I'll have a video about the vehicle detachment likely in the next couple days, and then the Terminator detachment, I'm not gonna lie, I just straight up hate it. If you guys really do want to see me work on it a little bit, I'm happy to, but I really don't like that detachment. I don't see any reason I would ever play it. So that is it for the video today. Thank you so much, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will be making quite a lot of Grey Knight content going forward. Thank you.